Hello, everybody. San here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's Saturday video, I want to talk about Beam Therapeutics' second quarter of 2025 business updates. I want to talk about two of their leading programs, Beam 101, Beam 302. Lots of hype around this company, lots of hype around those two specific programs, and you'll see why this business update was so important that just was released earlier this week. So let's jump right into it, guys. Beam Therapeutics reporting second quarter update financial results and provide an update on Beam 302, which of course is tackling AATD. So, guys, let's read the highlights here and I'll give my thoughts here. So, first here, and I quote, with 17 patients dosed in phase 1/2 trial, Beam 302 continues to demonstrate a durable correction of disease-causing mutation and a well safety profile. Beam 302 expanded dose exploration underway in Part A, enrollment initiated in Part B. Data from Parts A and B and Phase 1/2 trial clinical development update expected in early part of 2026. Those completing for 30 sickle cell disease patients and first adolescent patient dose in the Beacon Phase 1/2 trial of Beam 101. More data coming in by end of 2025. And they ended the quarter with $1.2 billion in cash, supporting them all the way into 2028, which I should remind viewers that's about 3-ish years, even more potentially if you're looking at end of 2023. That's a long time. That's a lot of money in the cash bank. Okay, let's just read one quote from maybe Evans here, of course, CEO and leader of Beam Therapeutics. Let's read this quote here. So I quote here, in the first half of 2025, we made significant clinical operation regulatory progress across each of our high priority program. We aim to harness this momentum heading into key catalysts at the end of 2025 and early next year. We have now dosed 30 patients in Beacon trial and Beam 101, which has potential to be best in class as a one-time therapy for severe sickle cell disease, marking an important milestone on our path to a BLA filing. We look forward to sharing additional data from this trial latest this year. Today, we're pleased to update and provide an update for Beam 302 and AATD, where we have mounting evidence to suggest that Beam 302 is fundamentally altering the disease to restore the key physiologic functions of AATD and alpha 1 with a single course of treatment. Having now dosed 17 patients across 4 cohorts, all doses tested as August 1st continue to be well tolerated and resulted in durable dose-dependent correction of the disease-causing mutation. So, like guys, I'm gonna end this code like that here. So, some good updates here. So, first of all, obviously you can tell this company is all in two programs, Beam 101 and Beam 302. So Beam 101, we've talked about it many times in this channel. They kind of got data, human data, much later than companies like, of course, CRISPR Therapeutics. So that's why they're at 30. 30 is nothing to sneeze at. Now, I do want to preface that CRISPR Therapeutics has kind of done the heavy lifting in the CRISPR world for sickle cell disease. So Beam's coming in, of course, with 30 patients data, but it's not really the equivalent of 30 patients data to CRISPR Therapeutics if you understand what I just said, right? So they're further down the line. Now, a lot of people in this space are kind of expecting Beam to get this program approved by 2027. I think there's a play for end of 2026. They just submit the BLA filing. We saw the FDA is looking to reduce BLA uh, review from 10 to 12 months to 1 to 2 months. So technically, if they were to submit a BLA filing by end of 2026 for Beam 101, you could potentially get this on early 2027, if not late 2026. It's all possible. I do want to remind viewers that's still 1+ year away. They're expected to give us data in the next few months here, in the next 2-3 months. And by that time, the FDA is going to have to be looking at this and say, look, we approved Casgevy in early 2024, basically end of 2023. And although that's a great program, they're going slow with that program just based on what they have to work with, right? The scalability and so on. In fact, you'll see in just a second here why this is so important, the whole demand versus supply thing that Beam believes that they can tackle, right? They believe they can have the supply. So the FDA is going to have to look at that, right? Seriously, right? And say, look, we approved for Casgevy and CRISPR Therapeutics and Vertex. That was great. Do we really need Beam Therapeutics to go through 100 plus patients to prove a point here? Do we really need that and then waste 2, 3, 4 years just to do what we already know by now? So, I mean, these are the big questions the FDA and, of course, Beam Therapeutics are going to have to converse on by within the next 12 months, if not are being done, right? Let's Another thing here is the Beam 302 program. Guys, the Beam 302 program, I haven't really talked a lot about it. There's a lot of hype of that program, right? The AATD disease, how it's a cure for this causing mutation disease and a one-time cure. There's a huge total addressable market here, and of course, using all base editors. There's a lot of appeal to that program. They believe, and I don't know if you guys caught that, but they believe they can get updated data by early 2026, and more importantly, they believe they can get this potentially approved by 2027. Did they say that? I'm pretty sure they said that as we were reading this. Uh, so sorry, marking the most important milestone that was for being 30101, sorry, but the 302 here is, first of all, I do want to also reiterate they those 17 patients now. That's pretty good, guys. That's nothing to sneeze at. But they did say somewhere down the line here by 2027, 2028, they're looking to also get this program approved. If I find it, I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'm mistaken here. Regardless, doesn't matter. The point here is that look, nobody really knows, right? They still need more data for this program. Nobody really knows for sure. But I'd be very surprised if the data's been so amazing, so good, and the FDA is looking at Beam 302 is like, well, you know what? We need another 5 years. I'd be very surprised, guys. I look, I'm not inside those conversations. I'm not the FDA. I have not no affiliation with any of those folks. I don't work in the FDA. I don't work in any of these companies. I don't have any inside information. But man, it's gonna have to be a tough conversation from the FDA to Beam Therapeutics and to patients with AATD saying, yeah, well, we need until 2030, 2031 more data, follow-up data. I just do not see that playing out, guys. And speaking of data, speaking of playing things out, Wei Zhao, who's actually a good member of the X community here in CRISPR, kind of published two big important posts here that I really want to highlight here about this business update. So first, Beam 101 update with 30 patients now dosed. The countdown begins. We expect Beam to submit a BLA around September, October 2026 with potential FDA approved mid 2027. I think it's more like December 2026. I'm going really bullish on this, guys. So again, way kind of reiterating what I said. Actually, there's a interesting point here. Beam hints that Casgevy underwhelming sales are due to supply constraint, not a lack of demand. Can't really disagree with that, right? We covered that a couple of videos ago, how patients roll up is really slow. But again, just because Beam gets that approved doesn't mean Casgevy becomes rendered useless. I don't subscribe to that theory, right? I think there's a play for both of those companies to be very successful. It just happens that Beam is going to be a lot quicker at that, right? Again, not FDA approved yet, so you can't really make those statements yet, right? Gotta remember, right? There's a process here, guys. The second here is Beam 302 post. This is pretty good. So good news, even at 75 milligram, liver enzyme elevation remained grade 1, so no serious adverse effects. Smart move, adding a 60 milligram redose cohort. Since the last update, which was 9 patients, Beam has those 6 additional patients at cohort number 4 and 2 more at cohort number 3, a total of 17 patients. A new cohort 5 has been added to explore redosing at 60 milligrams, 2 doses. That means with a plan of 3 to 6 end sample due to expanded dose exploration. Updated data is expected basically by early 2026. So we're looking at the next 6, 7, 8 months, right? So I got a lot of people actually telling me, oh, what's this redosing? Why they're doing that? I thought the whole promise was one dose. Well, guys, first of all, this is still clinical trial. You guys gotta remember, right? The whole point of going clinical trials is so you can do these types of things, divide in cohorts, change dose and size, and of course, introduce redosing. Because you have to do that work, right? When you present all that data to the FDA, you have to have a proper documentation side to explore all the ins and outs with human data, right? You can't just come to them and say, yeah, we're gonna do 60 milligrams on all patients going forward. You cannot do that, right? It just doesn't work like that, right? And obviously, if they did that, there's a reason why they're doing that. They're looking at maybe potential further data. They're looking at potentially looking at improving the safety profile, maybe improving the efficiency of the data. And honestly, guys, even if it was a redose, what's wrong with that, right? Statins for heart diseases are being done on a daily basis, pills for basically a lifetime, right? Think about your pandemic vaccines, right? When you had it, you didn't have one dosage, you didn't even have two dosage. People had boosters, right? So, guys, I think this is just over exaggerated. I think it's fine. I think it's great. I think 2026 is going to be such an important year. I would argue from the next 8 to 12 months, including this year, such an important year for CRISPR landscape, including Beam Therapeutics. Not just because we're getting follow-up data, for example, from Beam with Beam 101 and of course potentially Beam 302, but also because the FDA is on a roll here. We're gonna see a lot more announcements. We saw that a couple of months ago, slash weeks, about the BLA's review being shortened from 10 to 12 months to 1 to 2 months. That opens the window for a company like Beam to get that Beam 101 approved by end of 2026. But what else can they do? Can they give a fast lane to CRISPR companies? Can they specifically say all genome editing companies using CRISPR into their platform is going to get a fast line review where it's going to be even less than 1 month? Can they say that, hey, we're pausing everything, we're going to review all your current programs. If we deem it successful, we're approving it. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm not even saying that's the right thing to do. But there's so many opportunities here for the FDA here to review this. I think they have to. They have a duty to do that for the citizens in the US, but also around the world, right? A lot of regulatory bodies in Canada, Europe, UK, Australia, New Zealand, all these countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, all these countries, all these regions, they depend on the FDA decisions. Everybody looks up to the FDA. We saw that during the pandemic. This is no different. I'm very excited for this space, guys. Hopefully you are as well. This is a great business update from Beam Therapeutics. I love what I'm seeing, guys. Let me know in the comments below, what do you love most about this business update? Are you bullish on Beam 101? Are you bullish on Beam 302? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you're bullish on the fact that they hold $1.2 billion cash. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful weekend. Here it is beautiful here in Montreal. Again, I'm still on the road. I should be back in Toronto in my regular office by Monday of this following week. So really excited. But again, it was good to be with family, good to be with a couple of business meetings here at the office and so on. So always nice to go be back in Montreal. Again, highly advise folks to come visit Montreal, but only during summer, guys. Only during summer. Do not come between December, maybe January to March. Do not come that, even though tickets prices are cheap, even though hotels are cheap, and it may seem appealing. Do not come. It's really cold. You're gonna regret it. But it's up to you. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.